Hello, everyone. I'm actually about to do something crazy, but let me tell you what this live is about. So, one of my clients called me today while I was going for a walk. I was about to go to my appointment to get my dental cleaning, and she asked me if she could call me, and she gave me this amazing news about how she landed a director level contract. I got obviously so excited for her. And the funny story is that this client, she was working with another coaching service, did not like the results of what they were delivering to her. And look, I think at the end of the day, you know, I have a lot of respect for my peers in the coaching space. But when I see a coaching company that doesn't treat people with, let's say, the level of care that they should be providing them, especially as someone who has actually mentored and coached career coaches. I don't consider other career coaches competitors, to be honest, because I do feel that there should be more coaches with everything that's going on and with how challenging it can be to land a job. But at the same time, when I see a coach or a coaching company that doesn't provide the right level of support, then I am obviously going to critique it. Having said that, the purpose of this live is to break down the exact roadmap that this client followed, because I bet if you are listening, whether you are at the director level, senior individual contributor level, or VP level, and you feel stagnant in your career, maybe you are in an environment that is making you miserable. Maybe you are in a toxic situation. Maybe you are stagnant and you feel that you can grow, add more to your compensation. Then you want to know how to do that, right? So, I'm going to explain exactly how my client was able to land that director role, yes, in this market. Now, the crazy part of this live. Here's my biggest pet peeve, and I'm going to be very honest with you about this pet peeve. When people tell me, what if I try and I do all the work and I build my brand and I position myself and it doesn't end up fixing my situation? Okay, I am going to answer this question with a very visual demonstration. Before I do the visual demonstration, have you ever pursued a goal that was worth pursuing and knew that you were going to absolutely get it? Whether it was, I have a client who wanted to do the Ironman race. He didn't know if he was going to win, right? I had clients who told me that they went for, let us say, I mean, even having a child, like pregnancy, we don't even know. We don't even know if it's gonna be successful. So it really upsets me when people tell me that they have a goal, but they don't know if they should try because they don't know if it's gonna happen. And it's such a poor mindset. Now, on to the visual demonstration part of this live. Listen, this is why it bugs me when people tell me that I don't know if I should try. I don't know if I should put myself out there. I'm so comfortable in my role. I was diagnosed with migraines last year. Okay. I have tried 5 different types of medication because I really wanted to get better. I didn't know if any of these types of medication were going to help me. I have been taking this medication called Ajovy. It is an injectable. I hate needles so much. You guys have no idea how much I hate needles. This is my 4th dose that I'm injecting myself with. And the neurologist told me that I have to try this medication for 6 months to see if it is actually going to help me. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. And I hate needles. And I keep injecting myself with this every single month. And I don't know if it's going to help me. So, honestly, why do I do it? Because I want to get better. Look, this is the medication. There is a needle inside. Do you see that pointy needle? Oh my God, I shouldn't have looked at that. I'm going to inject you guys myself in front of you guys to show you how brutal this is. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this live. Oh my God. Oh my God, this hurts so much. Okay, I have to count to like 15 or no, 10. You guys count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Has it been 10 seconds yet? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I have to do this every single month, and I don't even know if it is going to work. So, you guys, when you're telling me, I don't know if I should work on my positioning, I don't know if I should build my brand, I don't know if I should reach out to employers and look for jobs. What are you going to lose? It's not even a needle that's going to hurt. If anything, you're going to get better at communicating your value. Okay? So let's talk about this client after I pull out this thing, because honestly, it's really hard for me to think right now while this needle is in my thigh. Can someone say something funny, please, to distract me? Just say something funny. Okay. I'm pulling this thing out. I think all of this stuff is in my body right now. Let's just double check here. It's like a $700 needle, so I have to do this right. Anyway, so let's talk about what this client did in order to succeed. The first thing that she did, first of all, she was in a very difficult situation. Like, she was laid off from the job and her husband was also laid off. Yet she still had enough belief in herself to invest into paying me and working with me, even though the results weren't guaranteed. The common thing that I hear people say to me when they are navigating a career transition is, I'm still working through my transition and I'm refining what the outcome is going to be and what I'm looking for. And once I have more clarity on the specific areas where I feel coaching could help me most, then I'm going to reach out to you. That is something that people sometimes tell me. And the thing is, you guys, it's really hard for you to know what your specific goals are and what your hurdles are on your own. Just like, with me, as an example, I'm a coach and I help people figure out their sweet spot, what roles they should go after. This is my specialty. And yet I work with business coaches to audit my business, to be that outside objective person and help me figure out what my blind spots are. Okay? So it's not something that you can figure out on your own. Just like organizations hire you, CEOs hire auditors, CEOs hire external professionals to help them audit a business because they're so in the business they're not able to basically see their blind spots and bottlenecks and inefficiencies, right? It's so easy for you to be on the outside and pinpoint to someone what they may be doing wrong, but it's hard for you to know when it's you. So the misconception that people have when it comes to coaching is they feel that they have to figure things out on their own before they hire a coach, and that's actually not how it works. So when this client who was targeting a director level role came to me, she didn't know exactly what she wanted. And she was okay with figuring it out with a coach versus on her own. So that is step number one. And that is the behavior that you need to adopt in order to be successful. When you adopt this behavior where you constantly want to figure things out on your own, you're not willing to get guidance from the outside, you're so hung up on your mindset and behaviors, how are you going to change your perspective? And how are you going to operate differently in order to get to your destination? If I bring it back to the analogy of trying to win a marathon or trying to win the Ironman, right? You're not going to, you might not be, you might have a high level goal, right? Of winning the marathon, right? But you may not know what are the exact steps you need to take in order to get there. So this client came to me with an open mind. That was the behavior. That was the behavior that she adopted that made her successful. So that is step number one, is acknowledging that you have blind spots, acknowledging that you need someone to diagnose in the entire end-to-end journey. You're going from where you are right now in your role to where you want to be. You need someone to break it down into steps and tell you where the bottlenecks are. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two, the beautiful thing about her is when she was working with this other coaching service, they were so hung up on helping her with her resume, and they were so hung up on getting her to try all of these different outreach strategies in order to generate interviews. So, yes, it did materialize in some interviews, but she was so exhausted because she was going to all of these interviews and she was getting rejection after rejection after rejection, to the point that it was affecting her confidence. It was affecting her mindset. It was making her feel like it's not even possible for her to land a role. And so her and I took a step back and I said, you know what? I want to spend time going through your entire career. I want to understand what you did in all of these different director level roles, what your strengths are. And I want us to figure out what your value proposition is. What makes you different as a director? What that company did was they took her LinkedIn profile, they took her whatever she said to them, they uploaded into AI, and AI spit out some very generic, function within change management, which to me is quite junior actually compared to what she was doing. The problem is AI has a very superficial understanding of who you are, because here's the thing: garbage in, garbage out. When you give AI bad inputs, it gives you superficial outputs. And so most people don't know what information they should give AI in order for them to figure out what they need to do. And the problem is that most people in the first place don't do themselves justice when they're talking about their experience and what they've done. They tend to minimize it, which results in a very horrible recommendation from AI on what you need to do next. AI doesn't challenge you that much. And so I used my pattern recognition from working with over 1,000 professionals. The funny story is her and I worked at the same company too. And we actually overlapped. We didn't even know. The thing is, whoever you end up working with as a coach needs to have some context in terms of the function that you've done. Every single client that I work with, I'm familiar with their industry. I'm familiar with the type of role that they've done because I have been in corporate for more than 15 years. I was a product leader. I worked alongside cross-functional teams. I've been part of $1 billion transformations. So when someone describes to me what they've done, I'm able to say, wait a minute, I don't think that's all you did. And I'm able to dig deep, ask them questions so that they can do what they've done justice. Now, once we figured out the right role for her, which was more of a transformation leadership role versus the change management role that company, recommended for her, I also realized that she had very nuanced skills as a leader, things that she absolutely enjoyed doing. We did this exercise that helped us figure that out. The number one thing that was important to her is that she loves working with end users. When she was in particular companies, she was like on the floor with like the actual people using technology systems. She wasn't disconnected from them. She was very hands-on. And apart from creating that wonderful user experience, she was the kind of leader who loves developing people and building functions. So that meant that when she went to companies and interviewed with them, it was important for her to actually talk about these things in very specific detail. Here's the mistake that a lot of directors and VPs make is you're trying to bend yourself to opportunities out there when you should be very clear on your niche. Your niche is not your title. Your niche is the skill set that you possess that no one else, has. So I'll give you guys an example. I mastermind with a 7-figure founder. Him and I meet up every single week. Okay. He's a 7-figure founder. I'm a 6-figure founder. But why does he mastermind with me? It doesn't matter what my income level is. He masterminds with me because I am brilliant at positioning and marketing, but he's brilliant at sales. So together we form an amazing partnership. Like he's really good at giving me sales advice. I'm really good at helping him, with marketing advice, generating more opportunities. I mean, this is what I do for my clients anyway. I'm really good at it. I'm really good at helping, I'm really good at building brands. I'm really good at helping people get the right opportunities at their doorstep. So I'm clear on my niche. Notice how I niched myself down to marketing and helping people generate aligned opportunities versus saying career coach, my title, right? So you may be like a director of product, but maybe your superpower and your skill set is understanding users so well. Or maybe your skill set is helping the product grow or scale it, right? So you need to understand your niche. But most people are terrible at figuring out their niche. I know a lot of you are going to take this information and try to figure out your niche and talk to AI. Listen. A lot of my clients did this and failed and came to me because they got so frustrated. The more information they gave GPT, the more confused they became. Okay? So, you need to talk to someone to help you figure this out. And you need to talk to the right person who knows who has a good sense of being able to see people's strengths. Okay? So that's my advice for you. Okay, So we figured out her basically ideal role. We figured out her value proposition, which is the fact that she's really good at building functions from scratch and user experience. The third part that is the most critical that helped her get the offer, okay, was how she talked about her experience. She was minimizing what she was doing. When she was describing the projects and the initiatives that she was on, she was minimizing them. She was leaving out information. She was talking about herself like a doer instead of a builder and a strategic leader. And we worked on that. And again, she could have done it using GPT. In fact, she shared with me what GPT recommended, but it was so watered down and so high level, it just wasn't believable. It didn't sound like her real experience. The other part is also you need to practice, because you're not going to read off a GPT prompt when you're in an interview. You need to hold a conversation. You need to be able to improvise. And how we were able to work on that, was her practicing in front of me, right? Getting feedback. I was literally breaking down all of her answers, pulling them apart, nitpicking on every single word that she was saying, critiquing the structure. You know, sometimes a lot of leaders, like, they're all over the place when they tell a story. The story doesn't even have a point. We get to the end of the story and sometimes they tell me, "Oh my God, I forgot what I was saying. I don't know where I'm going with this." Oh my God, if you don't know where you're going with your answer and you lost your train of thought, what do you think is going to happen when a recruiter or hiring manager is listening to you? They're going to fall asleep. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to lose their train of thought too. And so you're telling me that you don't know if you can get the role. You don't know if you can get out of your situation, but you don't want to work on the way you communicate. You don't even want to try. Well, now we figured it out. If you don't want to try and if you don't want to make time to work on the skill set, then yeah, you're going to stay stagnant in your career. Can you think of any leader out there who is a poor communicator, who is not able to convey their ideas in a clear way that connects to their audience? Give me a name of a leader who is a poor communicator. I dare you, a successful leader who's famous, I dare you to put in the chat one person who doesn't know how to communicate, who is great at what they do, and is a recognized leader. You can't think of one, right? Now, if you're with me, I'd love to know who is a leader that you love listening to. Put that in the chat. Kamala Harris, great. Who else? You know, I love listening to Barack Obama. I'm not so much into a politics person, but he's a great speaker. I even watched, one of the Netflix series where he talks about careers, actually. Notice how he speaks. When he tells story, there's always a point to the story. It doesn't feel like you have to work so hard to actually understand what he says. But a lot of you have that difficulty and you don't want to work on it. And you think that, hey, I just need to know the right people. Here's the thing. At some point, if you think of yourself as a business will never survive on referrals. A business needs to learn how to advertise and communicate their value without referrals, because referrals dry up. Even if you don't, like, people tell me the story of, I don't have connections, I don't know the right people. Okay, you don't. So what are you going to do about it? You need to build those relationships. How do you think you're going to be able to build those relationships? By being boring? by talking about your experience and sounding like a textbook and putting people to sleep? No. So if you're, again, how important is it for you to grow your career? Just like how important is it for me to not have migraines on a daily basis? If your goal is important to you, then you need to figure out what's blocking you from your goal, and you need to work on the behaviors that's going to help you reach your goal. The behaviors that I'm adopting is taking this stupid medication, exercising, eating healthy. The behaviors that you need to adopt in order to grow your career is you need to have a clear target on what your ideal role is, instead of spreading yourself thin and shotgunning, hoping that somehow if you apply to those 100 different types of roles at the VP level, at the director level, at the senior individual level, contract, full-time, somehow magically, there will be a fit. Except that when you're doing that, you're getting confused about your own identity. You have 40 different types of stories that you show up. There's like 40 different versions of you for every job that you apply to. And you can't even keep track of what version of you is showing up to what interview. And that's why you're not getting those opportunities. And you think that AI is going to automate it and streamline it. Okay, maybe, although arguably, absolutely not. You're going to have a very watered down generic brand that a recruiter is going to look like, because you only have one LinkedIn profile, by the way, in case, you forgot about that. And if you have 20 versions of your resume, guess what? The recruiter is going to look you up on LinkedIn, and they're going to see what your LinkedIn says, and it's not going to match that resume that you used to apply. Okay? And probably what you're doing is because you haven't made up your mind and you're so scared to make a commitment. Your LinkedIn is probably a collage of all the roles that you think that you can land. It's like going to a store or going to a doctor and saying, "What kind of patients do you help?" "I don't know. I help all kinds of patients." And you're like, "Well, I don't think you can help me then, because you're not specialized in my condition." Right? So that's what you need to do. You need to know the right target. You need to build a brand that's aligned to that target. And you need to convert your interviews into an offer. Those things are very hard to do on your own, because one, it's difficult when you're inside the jar and can't read the label. You've done so much, you have a messy career. It's very difficult to organize it on your own. Using AI is not going to help you, because to begin with, you're giving AI the wrong information, and this is why it's giving you the wrong advice. The third reason is this is obviously an emotional journey. You need accountability. You need a system, and you need someone who is going to hold you accountable. Just like a personal trainer. If you don't pay the personal trainer, and if you didn't have that set appointment, then you wouldn't show up, because we as humans are lazy beings unless we have accountability and we are accountable to someone, not a thing. GPT, there's no repercussions if you don't show up. But a human, you feel bad not showing up, because that human is expecting you and wants to help you. This is why you need a system. You need an experienced professional who can be that outside perspective. And yeah, you need to be in a community of peers who understand what you're going through, which is what this client was surrounded by. In fact, the funny story is that this client, before she worked with me, she talked to a client who had just landed. And he gave her so much confidence that it's possible for her to land the role. And guess what? Less than 2 months later, she got the offer, and she is so happy. So this is the roadmap. This is the roadmap. These are the behaviors of someone who was able to land a 200,000 plus role. Yes, in this economy. If you are that ambitious person and you're not lazy and you're dedicated to achieving this goal, you have the mindset of, I am going to try my absolute best, because unless I try, I'm not going to be able to turn my situation around. Then I would absolutely love to be that person in your corner. I would love to help you, because listen, you're not going to be any different than the 1,000 different people that I helped over the globe. I have helped people in the US, I have helped people in Canada, Australia, India, the UAE, Mexico. I have helped people land jobs in different countries than where they're located. A client who was in Italy helped her land in the UK. A client who is based in the US landed in Portugal. A client in Mexico who landed in Canada. So believe me when I tell you that I have tackled every single case out there. And I'm not saying this with any exaggeration, because go into my LinkedIn profile, look at the recommendations. You will see a variety of clients from entry level all the way to C-level. Look at the types of roles that they've landed, their backgrounds, what countries they're from, and you will know this. So it's really a matter of whether you want to solve this or not, and how much you want it, and if you're willing to put in the effort. If you are that kind of person, then book a career diagnosis call with me. The way to book it is honestly very, very simple. All you have to do is go into my LinkedIn profile. And by the way, this client who landed, she landed 100% remote role, by the way. So for those of you who say it's so hard to land a remote role, blah, 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 listen, nothing is hard if you're able to sell your value clearly. Okay? So stop making excuses about how this is impossible and I'm the only exception in the world and I have this sad case and I'm not curable. If you have this mindset, then you're not going to be able to change your situation. Period. Okay? So click on book an appointment if you want to chat with me. I would love to chat with you if you are the kind of leader who is high performing. If you believe in yourself, if you know that you're competent in the role, because I can't improve your competency. My job is not to help you become better at the job. My job is to help you get the right opportunity for you that's going to help you grow your career. We are going to work on not a far-fetched goal, but we assess what you bring to the table and we figure out what the right opportunity is. How much time is needed to achieve the desired result average? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't. And that's not the right question to ask, to be honest. Again, if you put in the work, you make the effort, you will get the result. When does it happen? It depends on what's out there in the market. It depends on how fast of a learner you are and you're able to improve your communication skills. But I just gave you an example of someone who was able to achieve this in practically a month. I have another director level client who landed a role in 2 months. Now, do I think that every single person who works with me is going to land in that time frame? No. And I would not want to put the pressure on anyone who works with me to say that, hey, if you don't land by XYZ, then you're a failure, because we all have our learning curves. We all have our circumstances. And maybe there are going to be more than one thing that we need to adjust, because I see landing a job as a complete system that has multiple steps. You know, some people who come to me might have already been clear on what role to target, and we don't need to spend too much time on that. Some people, the issue is they're not getting any interviews at all, and their brand really needs to be rebuilt, right? So it really depends on your situation. But I will tell you that every single person I work with, we work on every part of the system, because most people, to some degree, they might be close in certain parts of the system, but we still need to tweak it and adjust it. Okay. All right. So, how to book with me? This is the site. You click on book your career diagnosis. There's a 2-minute intake. You choose basically the answer to your situation. This helps me understand what you're going through, because it's only 15 minutes, right? The 15 minutes is for me to basically ask you additional questions, understand your situation, and then we create a plan for you and decide if it makes sense for us to work together or not. Okay? So, because it's only 15 minutes, I do ask people to fill out this form so that I come in with some context about your situation. Once you complete this 2-minute intake, then it'll take you to my calendar link so that you can book a call with me. All right? Okay. I say a lot of what I say from love, because I really do care about people. I care so much about people. And I'd rather be honest with you. Some of you hold yourself back because of your mindset and behavior, and tell yourself stories about how it's not possible, how your situation is different, how your friend told you it took 8 months. Forget about your friend. Maybe your friend was following the wrong approach. Maybe your friend is not as capable as you are, and that's why it's taking them longer. You don't know what that other person's situation is. And instead of limiting yourself and comparing yourself to other people, maybe adopt the mindset of, I am great at what I do, and I can do this, and I'm going to try. Because when we, like I said, anything worth pursuing is not guaranteed. And the only way you find out is if you try. And when you go through that journey, you learn, regardless of what the outcome is. You learn how to articulate your experience better so that even in your organization, people take you more seriously. You learn more about yourself as a person, what you're great at, your strengths, all of these things. But again, based on my experience of working with over 1,000 people, when people approach this the right way, through the right system, they end up landing. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Okay? All right. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you learned a lot from this roadmap that my client took in order to land a 200,000 role. I also hope that you learned the behaviors that high achievers have and successful people who land roles adopt. And like I said, my door is open. If you are serious about changing your situation, book a career diagnosis, then we can determine if we're a fit working together or not. I only take a small number of people, and it's very important for me that we are aligned and we are a fit before working together. Okay, if you enjoyed this live as usual, please drop me a like. Let me know in the comments. Say hi to me. I always love to know who is watching. Tell me where you're tuning from, whether you are in the US, in Canada, in other areas of the world. I always love to know that. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in.